We're asking whether or not this currency really has any longevity, let alone legitimacy. Nick, what do you think? What's your take on this crash we've seen?
Yeah, the crash is extremely interesting because it really highlights how different Bitcoin is from a standard currency. You know, in the case of the Federal Reserve, as you were talking about before, there's somebody in charge. There's somebody in charge of regulating the system.
In theory, we're talking about Washington here, Nick.
I think we'd argue that they're probably too much in charge.
Yeah, right.
Maybe they could take a little bit off the reins. However, Bitcoin's exactly the opposite. No one's in charge.
Free
totally
market.
decentralized.
Okay,
Free market.
so the thinking here, and you know, Charlie explained it, is that there is no inflation, because you don't run the risk of anyone printing the currency. They have people that are effectively mining these Bitcoins on the internet, and there's only a set number of them. So as you continue to mine, it gets more and more difficult, and there's a limited number.
That's right.
So do you really think this in some ways is a purer form or a safer form of currency?
It's just a different form of currency. It is as different as anything you can probably consider in terms of the way people transact business and exchange commerce. The end point of Bitcoin is what you very nicely showed in that spot. It's a currency that allows you to transact business more cheaply than the standard processes now.
More cheaply, and also, let's not forget, anonymously.
Oh, anonymous.
Yeah. So, Mike, what does that mean?
It means that with the drop of Bitcoin from 280 to 150, drugs are going to get more expensive.
Drug prices are going up because let's not forget, I mean, one of the theoretical benefits of Bitcoin, right, is that people can transact for things on the internet with no
Not theoretical,
record.
it's real, Trish, and both the
well,
legal...
theoretical benefit, but I don't know if I'd call it a benefit for the. And I wonder if regulators are at some point going to have a problem with this, because you've got issues such as, you know, terrorist financing that you have to worry about in the world.
Charlie made the point that he has had 11 regulators come to his office, not for the bar, but the office where he runs his Bitcoin trading operation. 11 regulators, because they can't figure out what it is. Is it a market? Is it a bank? Is it an exchange? What exactly?
And they can find, Charlie, they can't find most of the people who are doing this.
Right.
And a lot of these things are going around the world in businesses, gambling and other things, and drugs. People are saying that that's what's happening.
So you wonder how long, in that sense, it's going to last. And if you're investing in it, you wonder whether or not it's going to last.
Yeah,
because at some point, regulators are going to come in and say, you know what, this is a little sketchy for us.
Yeah, in terms of longevity, Nick, what do you think about this thing where they stopped trading today? And that's not usually a good sign for a market.
No.
Well, that's right. You know, there are definitely problems with the GOX exchange. I would make 2 points about the issue of how transparent it is. The first is, if you're a U.S. buyer of Bitcoin, your institution is regulated by U.S. federal law. Right. So there is not total anonymity. And the second point I would make is...
And by the way, electronically, you can see the flow of funds from dollars into Bitcoin.
That's right.
Yeah.
And the second point I would make is, let's just think about the $100 bill, for example. 80% of $100 bills go outside the U.S. And how many times do you see news of a drug bust where there are stacks and stacks of $100 bills? So the fact that a currency is used for illicit activity doesn't make it immoral or legitimate. As a matter of fact, in some perverse way, it actually is a stamp of authority.
Well, is there a way that this could really begin to transform into something that's really and truly legitimate? I mean, you got this bar here in the middle of Manhattan now suddenly taking it. If we see more and more businesses start to take it, does that legitimize it?
It begins to, and I think just look at the venture capitalists that are already getting involved. Tim Draper, Mark Andreessen, even the Winklevoss twins were out with news today that they own 1% of all Bitcoin outstanding.
That's probably the best thing that I've read, Trish, about this whole thing is the nature of the venture capitalists who are involved. So that would make me look at the answer to your question.
In other words,
probably is going to be real.
Mike, are you saying that if other smart, I may not understand it myself, but if I see other smart guys giving it a stamp of approval, therefore it has more legitimacy? Is that the argument?
And they've done the due diligence to say this is simply not a
so
money
how do you
laundering.
think the regulators get around it, though?
I don't know how they're going to do it, but I think, as Nick was saying, I think it's got a shot at being a truly legitimate business because of the people who are saying we've looked at it and it's got a future.
It's fascinating. Would you say it started as?
How does anyone know the
I think people were looking to do illicit things on the internet
originally, right? So that's how it started, and maybe it grows up to be a
form of currency,
a real business in the future.
Well, actually, the first transaction was 2 pizzas for 10,000 Bitcoins.
2 pizzas.
Two
That's
pizzas,
right.
that's
Charlie was
right.
telling us about that.
Give me 2 pieces of pizza and I'll give you 10,000 Bitcoins. And the guy said, sure, here you go. Now he's got 10,000 Bitcoins worth.
Pretty good trade for him.
We'll see where it opens tomorrow.
That's right. We'll see where it opens tomorrow.